Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Saur, Darkchylde, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Replay Ace Attorney Investigations. Last time, we did some more investigations and found out that there were actually three kidnappers, and most of the costumes have been stolen, particularly one blue badger costume and two bad badger costumes. Upon this revelation, we decided that our investigation in the kidnapper's hideout it bared a little bit of fruit, but not enough to solve this case. Not yet, anyway. Upon leaving it, we run into Gumshoe, who found one of the costumes that's missing. And now, let's see if we can bring this case to a close. March 13th, 2019, 3:45 p.m., Watergate Land Main Gate. Where's the costume, Detective Gumshoe? Just over there on this side of the fountain, sir. Just on the other side of the fountain, sir. What's that guy in the Was it out here in the open all along? That's K. Was it out in the open all along? No, it was discovered in the tall grass back there. We moved it out here in order to examine it more thoroughly. Then let's get down to it. What do we have here? Oh, it's another pendant. It has two... That's two treasures in one day. How lucky is that? And hey, this pretty baby's made of platinum silver too. Another pendant on top of the one we found on the Mr. Decon. Is it possible these two? Hold it right there! Hands off, Mr. Prosecutor. You sure know how to cross the line, don't you? The pendant, huh? This is very decisive piece of evidence. How can you tell? Look here, and read off what you see. Lauren, hey, it's a name that's engraved on this. Aha! We have found you now. We have you now, Miss Kidnapper. No, you don't understand. Lolly, I can't believe you were one of my kidnappers. Lance. You're kidding. Miss Pappas was one of the kidnappers? Yes. It was me. I held Lance hostage. So Miss Pappas is one of the kidnappers? But even knowing that, I can't call this case solved or over. Hey guys, case closed. Get the car ready, and I mean the special one for the young lady.
Hold it!
Again, Mr. Prosecutor? What is it this time? Are you proposing that Miss Pappas is also the culprit in the murder case? What happened? I thought Officer Meekins was your suspect.
We found it.
Found what?
That officer's gun. He literally dropped it in the middle of a thick patch of grass. Your country's police are a sham. And just look at how careless they are. Who are you calling a sham? The officer's gun didn't show signs of being fired, so it can't be the murder weapon.
So Officer Meekins has been cleared of all charges, I see.
And that's when a brand new suspect came walking into the scene. The murder only happened because the kidnappers started fighting amongst themselves. As I recall, it was you who said that, right, Mr. Prosecutor?
Miss Pappas, did you really kill Mr. Deacon? Yes, I killed him. I can't believe it.
Thanks for the confession.
Agent Lang, it's much too early to declare this case closed.
Look at you, you're so sure of yourself. We've got the culprit's own confession and some very incriminating evidence. What more could you ask for?
Miss Lauren Pops.
Yes?
I want to hear it from you. Tell me your side of all that has happened today, from the kidnapping to the murder.
But why? I'm a kidnapper, I'm the killer. Isn't that enough?
It's fine if you're the one behind everything, but only if that is the truth. Now then, will you tell us the truth? Or is there some reason why you can't?
I've had a change of heart. I think I'd enjoy seeing you sulk away as the losing mutt. Alright, you heard me. Let's hear about all the evil deeds you committed today.
The one who came up with the kidnapping plan was the butler, Mr. Deacon. We knew that we could get rich by holding Lance hostage. Mr. Amano would pay anything to get his son back after all. Everything was going according to plan, but as soon as we got the money, Mr. Deacon turned on me and tried to kill me.
There, are you satisfied? She just confessed to her crimes a second time. At least you have the guts to admit what you've done. And I can at least respect that much.
Miss Pappas, is what you said really the truth?
Yes, it is.
If that is the truth, it certainly wasn't the whole truth. Because there is something that seems a bit too improbable in her confession. Since we're close to the end of this case, I'm just gonna get on with it.
The one who came up with the kidnapping plan was the butler, Mr. Deacon. We knew we could get rich by holding Lance hostage. Saramano would pay anything to get his son back, after all. Everything was going according to plan, but as soon as we got the money, Mr. Deacon turned on me and tried to kill me.
Why do you think he did?
I have no idea, but maybe he had planned on doing so from the very beginning? Miss Poppus.
Wait, Mr. Deacon planned to kill Miss Poppus from the very beginning? What? Was that ever really likely to happen? What should I do? Should I raise an objection? Yeah. I'm sorry, but I don't think what you just claimed is all that likely.
Huh?
I don't think Mr. Deacon would have ever been capable of killing you.
But why? We were total strangers. It's not uncommon for people to kill each other over...
Miss Poppus, you really are clueless, aren't you?
What do you mean?
You never knew what your role in the kidnapping was, nor do you know who you really are. But I do, and I can show you with this piece of evidence. This proves that Mr. Deacon wouldn't have been able to bring himself to kill Miss Pops. Let's see.
Take that!
Why are you showing this to me?
So what about the pendant?
This pair of wings belongs to this piece of evidence showing who you really are.
Take that!
These two pendants resemble each other, wouldn't you agree?
Hey, you're right. They're the same color and they're even made of the same material.
I believe that these two pendants are actually one. Shall we give it a try?
Wow, it's totally Pegasus. But why? Why does my pendant match up with Mr. Deacon's?
You're a smart lady. I'm sure you can imagine why that might be.
What? No, that can't be.
So the two make a set. It's just another trinket.
It's not as though this changes anything. You lack imagination, Agent Lang. Very well, I'll show you with this evidence. Oliver Deacon was an alias for this man. His real name was Colin DeVore, the name that was etched onto this horse pendant.
What? An alias?
What? An alias?
I suppose he had to hide the fact that he was a felon somehow in order to live. And it makes sense, given what was written on Mr. DeVore's dossier. And what I really wanted to point out was this. If you pay your attention to this spot here, Mr. DeVoe had one daughter, and her name is Lauren Pops.
That's a lie. That person was not my father.
He couldn't come out and tell you who he was your father because he was in hiding. However, I believe he was trying to secretly watch over you. you still believe that a man like that could kill the daughter he was separated from? Or even that such a man would allow his daughter to get involved in a kidnapping plot? And what's so funny, Agent Lang?
You're good at making things up in your head and deducing it, discluding the truth, aren't you?
What are you trying to say?
Your thinking is much too innocent. After all, I thought of another possibility.
Is that so? Well, let's hear it.
I'll grant you that the two of them are father and daughter. But isn't it possible that they both knew that fact? It was no coincidence that the reunited pair became involved in the House of Amano. And the two of them made good use of their meetings to plan this little kidnapping. Wouldn't you say that my scenario is perfectly plausible as well?
No, I would not. So, is this his version of how things might have been?
You don't have any proof that either one didn't know each other. Didn't know of their true relationship, right?
You mean they knowingly committed the crime as father and daughter?
That's right. As one really rotten family.
Is that really what happened? I have better take a long, hard look at the evidence.
I'll grant you that the two of them are father and daughter. But isn't it possible, the fact they both knew that fact?
You think they knew?
Yeah, I don't think only the victim knew. I think the girl realized it as well. They both knew who the other person was, but they had to pretend that they didn't.
Because he was on the lam?
You got it. The victim couldn't exactly go around flaunting who he was. Furthermore, it was no coincidence that the reunited pair became involved in the House of Amano.
One the butler, and one as the friend of the son, you mean?
They probably thought that was their best shot.
Is that what you honestly believe?
Of course. And the two of them made good use of their meetings to plan this little kidnapping.
Let's see, where's that piece of evidence?
Objection!
This kidnapping wasn't planned by just two people alone.
What kind of proof do you have of that?
Quite simply, there are 3 kidnappers.
3?
4 costumes were stolen from the Wild Wild West area break room. We found one of them in the kidnapper's hideout. But as for the other 3, we can assume they were being worn by 3 different people. We also found a set of 3 cups and 3 folding chairs that were used in the hideout. It all clearly points to a 3-man group. And I believe this third person is the real mastermind behind the kidnapping.
Who? Who is the mastermind?
I present to you the brains of behind this kidnapping.
Take that!
Lance Hermano?
Yes, this abduction was, in fact, schemed up by Lance himself. Recall what he said when he appeared before us.
Did you see the faces of your kidnappers?
No, I didn't see their faces, but 2. One was a woman.
However, there were 3 kidnappers, which is in direct contradiction to what he said.
But I know I only saw 2 people. This guy is being held hostage. This guy was being held hostage. It's possible he couldn't see all 3 of them.
Yes. About when you were being held, I had my doubts about what happened then. Lens, would you mind telling us about what happened while you were being held captive?
I really don't remember much anymore. Honest. But if I don't tell you at least something, you won't believe me at all, will you? I was kidnapped yesterday morning. They had me shut in that room blindfolded the entire time. But the kidnapper suddenly disappeared around the time I heard rain falling outside. My hands were cuffed, but it was a stroke of luck that they left me alone. I made my escape and ran away from that room as fast as I could.
Through the underground passageway, I presume?
Are you okay?
Sorry, I really didn't know what to recall I really didn't want to recall that terrible ordeal, but now you believe me, right?
No, not quite yet.
How can you not? Why are you looking at me with icy daggers in your eyes?
Because he's a prosecutor, and because they're all alike that.
I'll have you know, Agent Lang, a prosecutor's eyes are for discerning the truth. And should they be interpreted to be cruel at times, interpreted as cruel sometimes, then so be it.
Tch.
There is a sticking point in Lance's testimony. Let's see what he offers up when I push a little.
I was kidnapped yesterday morning. They had me shut in that room blindfolded the entire time. But the kidnapper suddenly disappeared around the time I heard rain falling. My hands were cuffed, but it was a stroke of luck that they left me alone. I made my escape and ran away from that room as fast as I could.
Hold it!
How did you manage to escape?
I wanted to just get out of there, but the door leading the outside was locked. Which is why I had to use the underground passageway to make my escape.
I remember our escape. It too be equally as hard. This is an invaluable piece of testimony. I mustn't let it go unexamined.
The door leading outside was locked tight, so I had to use the underground passageway.
Objection!
You say that the door leading out was locked, but was it really?
What are you talking about from behind? We're talking about that room behind the saloon front, right? Look, I heard that it took quite a few men to get that thing open, right, Shinana?
Yes, that is correct.
Then take a look at this.
What is that, a sword? It's not even especially reliable. Well, if it's broken like that.
Allow me to start from the end. And my conclusion is that the door was never locked. It was simply held shut by this sword, which was used to jam the handle. Lance, even though your hands were cuffed together, you could still use them. If that's the case, then why didn't you just simply remove the sword and escape?
Well, why didn't I? I was disorientated. Yes, that's it. I didn't notice it.
If I should accept such a bold-faced lie, as if I should accept such a bold-faced lie. You locked yourself in that room because you had to make yourself look like the victim. But you did not, in fact, possess the key to the door. That is why you had to use the prop sword to improvise and create a prison for your very own.
You've been making this guy out to be one of the kidnappers for some time now. I wonder if you've forgotten something very important along the way.
And what would that be?
A motive. What else? Do you honestly think that an uptight pure boy like him would hatch up a completely pointless scheme such as kidnapping himself?
This proves that Lance did indeed have a motive to commit this crime.
Take that!
To put it simply, Lance has a very urgent need for money. This is hardly your typical love letter. It is, in fact, a collections bill. It appears our upstanding boy has accumulated quite a debt. Isn't that right, Lance?
Looks like it's hard being the son of a rich man, too. It must be rough when you have to resort to stealing from your old man, huh?
Alright, I give up! I abducted myself.
Lance! It's over, Lolly. In this life, we really are bound to our fates after all. All I wanted was to go with you to a new town, somewhere where no one would know us. I wanted us to be well off with that $1 million, but now that dream is over. Oh, Lance.
Then you are giving yourself up?
Yes. I have planned to run away from this world with my Lolly. Oliver even helped us with the plan, but then he had to go and stab us in the back.
He turned on you?
Maybe he didn't want to split the ransom money. That's my guess. It happened almost right after you made the drop-off. When we were alone, he suddenly attacked me all of a sudden. After a brief struggle, I was able to contain him and keep him under control. I left him alone. We left him inside that room as Lolly and I made our escape. We wore different costumes and split up. Lolly left first in the blue badger costume.
That would mean the person Officer Meekins saw was Miss Pops.
But right then, the old man had woken up. I was careless. And he tackled me pretty hard from behind. Then Oliver, he put on the bad badger costume. Took the suitcase with the $1 million and ran. I contacted Lolly right away and warned her that he had a gun. They had no idea that they were related, so I thought that it could only end badly. I still don't believe it. That person was not my father. Because he was, I just killed my own father. Lolly, then it really was you? That man was not my father. I mean, because at the stadium, there was a bad badger, her pulling the suitcase with the $100 million in it. But the badger pointed his gun at me, aimed to shoot me dead. That's why I used the gun I got from Lance. There was a gunshot and the other person crumbled to the ground, and I ran, scared for my life. I think the big picture is finally coming into focus, don't you? Lolly, forgive me. I didn't think you would run into something so frightening. If only I could have protected you. So, Miss Pops, she shot her own dad without even knowing who he really was?
If what she says is true.
Are you saying she's lying? But why would she lie about something like that? What purpose would it have?
You would be surprised how often people lie without even realizing it themselves, Kay.
Huh? What's that supposed to mean?
What I mean is, listen very carefully to their confession once more and you'll see.
That man was not my father. I mean, because at the stadium, there was a bad badger, her pulling the suitcase with the $1 million in it. But that badger pointed his gun at me, he aiming to shoot me dead.
Hold it!
Were you able to clearly see the gun?
Yes, I got a very good look at it while it was pointed at me. Oh, Father, why would you try to shoot me? Do you really think a father would shoot his own daughter, Mr. Edgeworth?
I don't know.
I don't want to believe it myself. But it's true. My father, her left arm was raised with a gun in it. Pointed straight at me. I'm about to die, I thought.
Miss Pops, please calm down and take a deep breath. And then, would you allow me to please hear that last statement one more time?
Yes, of course. But that badger pointed the gun in his left hand at me, aiming to shoot me dead.
No. Where are you?
Objection!
I have here a dossier on your father. According to this, your father was right-handed.
Then
The person pointing the gun at you from atop the stage was not Mr. Deacon.
Hold on there, Mr. Prosecutor. I think you need to take a refresher course. The Bad Badger has a model gun attached to his right hand. Which is why the only hand he could have held the real gun was his left. Isn't it possible that it went down like that?
Agent Ling, were you paying attention to what Mrs. Pops was saying? Then again, I suppose I can't expect someone who has never set foot in court to catch it.
Enough with the smugness. Out with it already.
Miss Pops told us earlier.
there was a bad badger pulling a suitcase with the $1 million in it.
According to you, the bad badger had the gun in his left hand, which would mean that he was pulling the suitcase with his right hand. Is this correct, Mrs. Pops?
Yes, exactly. I'm sure of it. And I'm sure it was the bad badger. It had those huge sunglasses on in its face.
But if that's the case, even I can see there was a huge contradiction.
Yes, Miss Pops claimed to have seen the bad badger, and yet the bad badger had both his hands full. These two pieces of information contradict each other, so one must be wrong. Actually, they are both correct.
Impossible! Oh, that just leaves us with an irritating contradiction.
Miss Pop's entire statement rests on the fact that she saw his sunglasses and beard. But what if that bad badger wasn't wearing pants on his lower half? This proves that there was a way for the bad badger to freely use both of his hands.
Take that!
The costume has two parts to them, the head and the body.
Oh, I get it now.
The head Miss Pops saw was probably really the head of the bad badger. However, it is not possible that the body was that of an entirely different badger.
A different badger?
Yes. Or to put it more bluntly, I believe it was the lower half of this badger.
What? The heck is that?
The heck is it? It's the proto badger. Yes, and it's a simple matter to process of elimination. Miss Pops was wearing the blue badger's costume, so we can eliminate that one. And the pink badger is of the wrong color, which would have been incredibly obvious. All that leaves us is the proto badger costume. Miss Pops, who was the one who wore the proto badger costume? Would it be Lance?
Yeah. Are you saying what I think you are? That Lance Amano donned the bad badger's head and pretended to be Mr. D-Gun? On top of which, she plotted to spot Miss Pops while wearing that hideous thing?
The stage that was set up in the stadium was nothing more than that, a setup. And its purpose was to lead Miss Pops into believing that she committed murder. Standing there in front of Miss Pops, pretending to be the victim, it was all done so that she would pull the trigger.
I have no idea what you're talking about. What exactly would I have to do all that, huh? Why exactly would I have to do all that, huh?
There is but one reason, Lance Amano. You are the real culprit behind the murder of Mr. Oliver Decum.
What?
No!
That's slander! Take it back! You take it back right now!
Just out of curiosity, Lance, which is your dominant hand?
I'm left-handed, but that doesn't have to... What does that have to do with anything?
It depends. According to Miss Pops, her attacker held a gun in his left hand.
Ha! Who is what-handed doesn't prove anything! And besides, he's now you're just being absurd! It's not like the Proto Badger was bulletproof. One misfire and he would have found himself dead, right?
Of course. Logically, if he had been shot, he probably wouldn't be here with us. But I believe he had thought of that as well, and prepared accordingly. And this should be all the evidence you need. This is how Lance made sure that he wouldn't be hit by a bullet.
Take that!
We found one half of the bad badger costume, in the hideout, a broken one. It was not the same one, but the victim was wearing. It was not the same one that the victim was wearing, plus it was missing something. And that something is the model gun that the Bad Badger carries, which can fire blanks.
What?
Miss Pops, where is the gun you used now?
I threw away into the sea.
That makes it a bit tough to verify what it was. Although, I believe that we can safely assume that it was the model gun in question.
I've heard enough of all you've been spouting so far is pure conjecture.
I admit that as long as the model gun is lost to us, I can't prove I'm right. However, I can say that the probability that I am right is very high.
Okay, let's pretend that you're right, and that the murder at the stadium was a fabrication. In that case, where do you think the murder really took place, Mr. Prosecutor?
I don't know yet.
Ha! I knew you were full of it!
However, I do believe that the murder took place during an earlier time frame.
Please, wait a second. It's simply not possible. Because I saw Mr. Deacon after he was restrained by Lance.
She saw the victim in the state of being restrained?
I came back to the hideout long after the other two. By that time, Lance had already subdued and restrained Mr. Deacon. He had tied Mr. Deacon securely to the beam in the next room door. After that, the two of us put on our costumes and made our escape.
So, Mr. Deacon must have escaped after the two of you left, right?
We thought that it'd attract too much attention if we left together, so I left first. I planned to meet up with him at the stage in the stadium. And then, as I was walking through the park, I got a call from Lance on my cell phone.
Oliver managed to escape. It looked like he was waiting until I was alone. He also stole the gun from me at that time. And then the murder happened. Mr. Deacon must have overheard the plan and to meet up at the stage. Well, Mr. Prosecutor, Miss Pappas saw the victim with her own eyes. Which means that the victim was still alive at the time. Wouldn't you agree?
Why does it sound wrong to me? There must be something amiss about this account. Let's see what happens when I examine it in more detail.
Here we go.
I came back here to the hideout long after the other two.
Hold it!
When exactly did you arrive back at the hideout?
It was after we had picked up the ransom money.
And where were you until the time you returned?
I was scouring the park out and making preparations for our escape. I walked around in the various areas looking for the best route.
Ah, so each of them had their own roles to play.
After I was done, I went back to the hideout. By the time I got back, by that time, Lance had already subdued and restrained Mr. Deacon.
How did Lance look at that time?
He looked shocked. He also looked a little down. When I saw that sadness in his eyes,
Thank you, that's enough for now. What of Mr. Deacon? What was his situation like?
He had tied Mr. Deacon securely to the beam in the next room door.
You sure that it was Mr. Deacon that you saw?
Yes, I am certain of what I saw.
Did you go into the other room to check?
Lance said that it was best that if I didn't get too close to him. Lance, he's such a kind soul.
Then, are you telling me that you did not confirm that it was Mr. Deacon for yourself?
I checked through the slit in the door that separates the two rooms. He had a badger head on, so I'm absolutely sure. That just had to be Mr. Deacon.
She saw a bad badger head?
The captive had a bad badger's head on, so I'm absolutely sure it was Mr. Deacon.
Hold it!
So the tied-up Mr. Deacon was still in his bad badger costume?
Yes, and
it would appear that she misread the whole situation. Let's raise an objection. The person that you saw was not the victim.
What? Why not?
I will tell you why not with this. This, Miss Pops, shows us that the person you saw was not the victim.
Take that!
Miss Pops, the person you saw was not Mr. Deacon at all.
Huh?
The person you actually saw was this person. It was me.
Huh? The person I saw was you, Mr. Edgeworth?
I always thought it was a bit odd. Why would the kidnappers abduct me even after I had handed over the ransom? It's not as though I saw the face of the kidnappers. If I were them, I would have just taken the $1 million and ran. But in the end, there was a point to it all. It was to make me look like Mr. Deacon. And if that was the reason for which I was abducted, then I believe we can assume that the victim was already dead at the time. Well, Lance, am I right?
That's...
You showed Miss Pops a person namely me, with the Bad Badger's head on. And then made your costumed escape together. Or so you pretended.
Huh? What do you mean he pretended?
Exactly that. I believe Lance wanted you to escape and then doubled back to the hideout. Probably to come and remove the badger head from my unconscious self. And to create this fake person with the prop sword, and to make his fake prison with a prop sword. He then escaped via the passageway.
Hold your tongue, boy! Don't get caught up in what... don't get caught up in that tidal wave of words coming out of Mr. Prosecutor's mouth.
Tidal wave?
We heard a lot come out of you, but I've yet to see a shred of evidence. The victim's betrayal and the subsequent detainment, all of that could have happened while you were out cold. That's right. Hey, you were out for quite a while, Mr. Prosecutor.
Even if that were the case, Miss Pops would have still seen me tied to a beam.
I was scared of Mr. Deacon, so I didn't go into the next room. So I really had no idea if you were in there or not, Mr. Edgeworth.
You see, it would seem that you can't prove a thing. Who said that?
Please, wait. Mr. Amano? Oh, Miles, my boy. Looks like you're really giving it your all. And Lance, it's not good to cause trouble for others.
Dad?
Let's see. You are the one in charge of the investigation, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry that my son has been nothing but trouble. This probably won't make up for everything, but I have some evidence for you.
Oh, do you now?
Is that what I think it is?
It's the Bad Badger costume from the victim was wearing. And a gun.
I couldn't wait around for the police, so I went and found these myself. It appears that they were disposed of in the sea.
Is there no one in this country who actually obeys the law?
There now. Oh, Agent Lang, please calm down.
What the heck is that scrap of paper?
These appear to be a letter from the Chief of Police. Please allow Mr. Amano complete freedom to do as he sees fit, it says.
What?
The Chief of Police? What the? Just who the heck? Who does he think he is?
The person who wields the highest authority in this area.
Oh, there. Her now. There is no need to be so upset.
I'm not a cop from this land, so I'm not bound by the laws of your country.
Now. Well, this wasn't meant to strong-arm you into anything. It's just a request. I'm only asking that you please respect the laws of the land.
I can't really say no to that. However, returning to the topic at hand, it does matter who found the evidence. Its value remains untouched, remains unchanged. Alright now, let's take a look at this new evidence.
I've already got the results back. I had a special forensics research lab that I'm on good terms with conduct the test. They verified that the blood on this costume belonged to Oliver. As for the gun, only the fingerprints they could find were yours, Lauren.
What?
You disappoint me, Miles. I can't believe that you would cause my son such stress and heartache. Thank goodness, I was able to find the final piece of evidence. With this, you'll have no reason left to push my poor son around.
That's it? These are the case-making pieces of evidence? Huh. I'll be the judge of that.
Oh boy, we're stepping into dangerous territory here.
Now then. What have we here? What's this? It looks like there's something inside the costume's head.
Hey, they sparkle. I bet they're really valuable.
Sorry, but they're just pieces of a mirror. But why are they in here? Okay, now then.
Could this gun be the actual murder weapon?
This bullet hole. It looks kind of burnt around the edges. Wait, those burn marks were left by the gunpowder. This is the most important fact.
Why is that?
Because it is proof that the victim was shot at point-blank range.
Well, are these not the most definitive pieces of evidence you've ever seen?
Thank you, Dad. And this is enough to convince even Mr. Edgeworth over there. Make no mistake, Hank, there are fingerprints on that murder weapon, on that murderous gun. And they prove that it was Lolly who killed Oliver. But Oliver was also after Lolly's life. So, Mr. Edgeworth, even you must see that Lolly was only acting in self-defense.
The fingerprints on the weapon, huh?
Oh no, this isn't helpful at all. Look, Mr. Edgeworth, all I want to do is save Lolly. But in the end, all I can do is watch on the
as she takes the punishment for her crimes.
That may be all you can do. However, I still have a case to solve and a job to do. The job of unveiling your insidious lie.
You wound me. Why won't you believe me, even in the face of all this evidence? Make no mistake, there are fingerprints on that murderous gun.
Those fingerprints, are you sure they belong to Miss Pappas? There's no mistake about it. Though, through my connections, I had the best forensic techniques money can buy performed. I find that a bit peculiar.
What? Are you trying to pick an argument with me?
What should I do? Raise an objection? Yes. Frankly, I don't believe that Miss Pappas' print should be on that gun to begin with. And the reason why Miss Pappas' print should not be on the gun is...
Take that!
It's simply not possible for Miss Pappas to have left any fingerprints on the murder weapon. Because, while she was at the stadium, Miss Pappas was wearing a costume.
Huh? But there's been no mistake. Hey, we found fingerprints.
Well, Miss Pops, do you remember touching the gun at all at any time?
Ah, yes. As a matter of fact, I did hold it for a bit back in the hideout. I handed it off to Mr. Deacon when he and Lance left for the haunted house.
To retrieve the ransom money, I suppose. And there you have it. That is when Miss Pop's prints found their way onto the gun. Do you understand now, Mr. Romano? The fingerprints do nothing to prove that Miss Pops is the murderer.
But you still don't have anything to prove that she isn't the killer, right?
You seem very adamant about insinuating that your girlfriend is a cold-blooded killer.
Oh, Lance.
What? No way! I'm incredibly worried about her. But that doesn't change the fact that you don't have any evidence, right?
That's where you're wrong. I have the evidence.
What? How?
The story that Miss Pappas killed the victim at the stage in the stadium. The whole affair is simply not true, because that was not the real crime scene, but a setup. This proves that the real murder was not committed at the stadium at all. Okay, let's see.
Take that!
Let's take another look. Another good look at the costume the victim was wearing. Then, and I believe you will see why I insist that he was not shot at the stadium. burn around this bullet hole was made when the victim was shot at point-blank range.
Ah, so that means you mean the murder Miss Oldbag Heck saw at the stadium really was...
Yes, she saw two people, but they were separated by a distance. If the victim was indeed shot from below the stage, there wouldn't be a gunpowder burn.
Ah! Look at you, Mr. Smarty Pants Prosecutor. Since you seem to know all the answers, why not tell us where the real whole crime scene is, then?
Lance set me up to look like Mr. Deacon back in the hideout. If that's the case, prior to that, and the location in where Lance and the victim were at just before I was imprisoned was... I've got it. I know where the real scene of the murder is. The real location in which Mr. Deacon was killed is here.
Take that!
I think it's not unreasonable to assume the murder took place in the haunted house.
The haunted house?
Yes. And I have proof that it was highly likely that the victim was killed there.
Take that!
These were inside the costume the victim was wearing. They're fragments of a mirror.
A mirror? And what does that have to do with anything?
Indeed. You don't exactly expect to find pieces of a mirror inside a costume.
Yeah, that's actually pretty dangerous.
However, there is one piece I can think of where there is a plethora of mirror fragments. And that is the haunted house. Lance Amano, I propose that you killed Mr. Deacon with the revolver in the haunted house. After that, you stole the Blue Badger costume to move his body to the Wild Wild West area. The timing of when the Blue Badger mobile was stolen confirms this fact.
Miles, my boy, say no more!
I'm sorry, Mr. Romano, but I cannot do that.
Be quiet!
Yes, please do something. Stop that boy from speaking any more nonsense.
Ernest Amano, right? I meant you. Now be quiet, Gramps.
How dare you!
I don't need words. The only thing I require is evidence. Decisive evidence. And to call these mirror bits decisive is a bit too presumptuous, Mr. Prosecutor.
What?
Shinna.
Huh. There a mirror? Wasn't there a mirror in the kidnapper's hideout? Yes, there was a mirror there. A mirror that's for the haunted house.
You see, isn't it possible the fragments got into the costume there?
But Agent Ling, there were no fragments on the floor, so the probability is very low.
Probability? Longshade says his on Troop's path, the word probability doesn't exist. The only thing that does is definitive proof. The question, Mr. Prosecutor, is, do you have the definitive proof you need?
Well, Mr. Edgeworth, do you?
Do I have the solid evidence that proves the murder took place in the haunted house? The answer is no.
See? So, since you don't have any, shut up!
I don't have the evidence yet, but I am certain the murder occurred around the time I turned the ransom over. At that time, the only person at the haunted house besides myself were Lance and Mr. Deacon. If I can prove that the murder took place at the haunted house, then I can prove Lance's guilt in connection into the murder.
What now, Mr. Edgeworth?
Agent Lang, I have a special request.
Yeah?
I'd like to prove to you that the scene of the crime was indeed the haunted house.
Why in the world are you asking the werewolf for permission?
Because I don't really have a choice. If I want to find the truth...
Alright, permission granted. But you're not gonna touch a single thing, got it?
That won't be a problem. All that's important to me is that the truth is brought to light.
It doesn't matter by who or how it's done, as long as it is. Tja! Shina?
I'm here.
Put in the paperwork for the authorization immediately.
Understood. I'll go to the Gatewater Group's approval.
Who was that?
No. Let's hold on for a second. There is no need to attain approval. Mr. Amano. Agent Lang, if you would please take a look at this.
What is this? Shina?
It's the deed to the haunted house.
The deed?
Read it out loud.
Gateway Land Incorporated hereby bequeaths the property known as the haunted house to Mr. Amano for the lump sum of $1 million paid in full in cash.
What? Ho! As you can see, I am now the legal owner of the haunted house.
Are you kidding? When did you?
I ran into the owner of the park earlier, and we made the deal almost immediately. How quick things move when you're prepared $1 million in the blink of an eye. That $1 million you paid. Don't tell me it was... Oh, that's right! This disgusting suitcase belongs to you, doesn't it? I don't have any more use for it, so you may have it back now. You used the ransom money? My Lance is a good boy. He even apologized for the kidnapping a bit earlier. So I do believe that I will forgive him. After all, he did return the ransom money. That's the way things are, so if you would please discuss things with me from now on.
Discuss? What is there to discuss?
Why, permission to enter the haunted house, of course. While we were busy listening to Lance's story, Mr. Amano was out there preempting us? Permission to search the haunted house is denied. End of discussion. Agent Lang, I want you to arrest that girl. And Miles, you should hurry on home now, my boy, before I really lose my temper. Mr. Amano definitely has the deck stacked in his favor here. What should I do? If I leave it like this, the truth will be lost forever. And what happens now? Find out next time in Let's Replay Ace Attorney Investigations. I hope you enjoyed this episode and would love to see more. If you do, hit that like and subscribe button, leave a comment if you want, ring that bell to be notified when our next video comes out. We do new videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and occasionally Saturday and Sundays. All this helps my channel to grow so you have more videos to enjoy. Till the next video, this is Saur Darkchylde, signing off. Have a good night, folks.